Hey everybody, Jessica Morrison here, realtor with Ferris Property Group in Indianapolis. I am super excited and definitely feeling the imposter syndrome today. We have with us some top agents across the country who are here to talk about why you should not sell your home as a for sale by owner and some of the things to think about that. I'm going to pass it over to Tristan and let each agent introduce themselves and talk about which market that they're in. So Tristan, Alex, Cece, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Tristan Ahumada from the Los Angeles, Ventura County area, and I cover both counties. Been in real estate since 2004, and now I'm with Keller Williams. Who's next?
I'm Alex Rivlin in the Las Vegas and Henderson market in fabulous Nevada. And I am currently with EXP and just happy to be here today. So thanks for the invite, Jessica.
You said fabulous. Now I feel like LA wasn't that fabulous.
Well, it's fabulous. It's right on the sign. Right on the sign, it says "Welcome to fabulous Las Vegas."
Amazing Los Angeles. Okay, CC, yours better be amazing.
I love that. Well, CC Underwood, run a team here in Jacksonville, Florida, in the best Florida state.
There you go. You win.
You got
sunshine and crazies. Proud to be a part of it.
You guys are inspiring. I love how there's just this increasing crescendo of awesomeness. So
CC wins. I'm moving to Florida.
Florida wins.
All right. So let's kind of talk a little bit about each of your markets right now. What are you guys seeing with inventory and what are you doing to help set your buyers and sellers up for success?
Who wants to go first on that one?
I'll take mine. So yeah, our inventory is dwindling by the day. So I do a Tuesday team meeting and I always run the numbers. And for the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've said, okay, next week can't get lower. It's got to go up. And every week it's gotten lower. So we are at 2.1 weeks of inventory. From a single family standpoint, we have under 2,000 homes on the market and we're selling at about 950 a week. So it's treacherous. So almost everything is getting multiple offers. You have to do a lot to stand out. And those that aren't getting multiple offers are the absolute out of their mind dreamers that are overpriced by 20 and 30%. It's just, yeah, it's a bit crazy.
That's nuts. Cece.
So we're not quite that low. We are under 2 months supply of inventory. So you are grabbing wherever you can. Our team here specifically, we've partnered with a great rent to own option, which is especially in a competitive market of financing and cash offers, has been able to get a lot of our buyers to the top and get some accepted offers in there. It's allowing them to be cash buyers. So helping our team come up with creative ways to buy and sell has been hugely beneficial for us.
I love that. So in our market, so I'm going to go with LA because we do more in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is up 12% this year so far in prices. So I know you hear on the news that everybody's leaving LA, but it's not true. Everybody's not leaving California. They're just relocating within California. And the ones that are leaving are coming back, which is like, even though Florida is pretty awesome. So what we're seeing is because of that, prices are continually going up. And on average in LA, we're seeing homes stay on the market for about 47 days, which is not too bad, and some of these people are still trying to price their homes really high. Like we have these 2 in Venice that are priced like 4.5 million, 3.5 is just a little too much, right? And they're throwing off that curve because I'd like to see them go in like 20 days, but we'll see.
Oh.
Yeah, just casually 4.5 million, 3.5 million, like nonchalant.
Nothing to.
No, it's so good. Indianapolis is actually averaged between 0.7 and 0.9 months worth of inventory over the last 4 months. It's rough. And CC, I'd love to have 2 months worth of inventory. I feel like that's a blessing. compared to right now. So I am super curious to hear how each of you, especially with low inventory, have kind of diving deep into the creative solutions on how you set people up for success. Because I know Cece, you mentioned just a second ago that you guys have done some things differently. Can you elaborate on that?
On the buy side or the seller side?
Both.
So a lot of it, I think, we're seeing a lot of people because of their increased equity. A lot of people decided to refi. They stayed in their homes, or they did a cash out refi and they put in pools. That was the number one thing. People said like, hey, what do you wish you had? What's the number one thing you wish you had in a pandemic? And it was a pool. So we found a lot of people who did invest in pools, which is crazy for our construction. But for those who are deciding to put their homes on the market, there's that fear that they won't be able to find something because they do want to use their equity to scale up and pay down debt. So we partnered with Knock. Knock.com is a lender. It allows our home sellers to purchase a home first, and then later they have 6 months to sell their home after the fact. They do have to qualify and have equity in the home, which isn't a problem for the majority. We've done leasebacks, we've done delayed closings. Everything's negotiable now in the seller's favor, which is great. So we've made offers that are contingent on the seller finding a home. So you could do reverse contingencies with your sellers, and just really doing whatever we can possible. They've also gotten picky with their days, right? We're having to compete with cash offers. So we have Keller offers. We're making cash offers, and to compete with some of the larger ones as far as the convenience factor, as agents, we're having to adapt on how can we make the home selling process more convenient. So it does mean, hey, you know what, you're working from home now. You can't be stopping every 30 minutes, every hour to let someone in your home because you have to work now from home. So we've had a lot of compromise showings, showings after 5 o'clock and on weekends only, which just funnels people in on that opening weekend. That's been successful. So I think just having solutions for our sellers to any objection they have, that's our ultimate goal so that we can win more.
Excellent. Alex, do you have anything to contribute on that?
Well, I started to put up a series of 5 tips to get your offer more consideration. So I'm up to the 3rd one. The 4th one will go up on Lab Coat Agents today, as a matter of fact. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that everybody should be doing. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of agents don't do it. And we're struggling on the listing side too, because there's a lot of listing agents right now that aren't taking phone calls. I know Tristan had joked around a little bit about on his Zillow video about, well, I got to give them that. Some agents don't answer their phone, but now more than ever, I think there's agents that don't answer their phone because they're getting bombarded. They're getting 100 phone calls on that listing that just went live this morning. But you've got to somehow shine through. So use the leverage of who you are, what you've been able to accomplish, how many deals you get to the finish line, what your closing percentage is. Things along those lines are important. So I always try to reach out to the agent. I always try to make sure that the agent knows that this is not an across the desk transaction. This is not adversarial. We should be side by each walking towards that marathon banner at the end, because the buyer and the seller want the same thing. All the agents want the same thing. The other parties involved, like the escrow companies, want the same thing, because that's how we all accomplish the goal. So I try to make sure that that's clear, that I'm their advocate, not their adversary. I also always ask about what are the seller's considerations. I may have an offer that I'm going up against, and maybe I can't offer over appraisal like they are, and they're talking about $3,000, but they didn't know, and it's going to be a counter offer scenario, that person needed a lease back for maybe only 10 days, but it was a 10-day lease back because they need the equity out of this house so they could close on the other one. And that wasn't known. It wasn't put in the offer. If I can show up with the offer in hand with that already written in, that, hey, we'll do a 10-day lease back at no charge, then I've got an upper hand there. So, hey, that $2,000 or $3,000 difference that they're offering you may not actually be what goes to your pocket. And, because what if, hey, it does go to your pocket, but they can't give you that lease back. You need to rent the place and leave your stuff in a storage pod, which costs money and puts it at risk, right? So all of these things factor in. So these are a few of the things, that I talk about doing and making sure. So, get in touch with that agent, find out what the seller's considerations are, be strategic in your offer. There were a couple other points as well. So those are all the things that we're doing on a regular basis.
Jessica, are we talking to real estate agents or the consumer?
I think the objective originally was consumers, but I do think that I kind of also want to, I'd like to focus the discussion for consumers so that people can, especially in a public facing sense, in the original question, tailor this to, why is it not a good idea to sell for sale by owner right now. But I think in leading up to that, talking to agents is also kind of beneficial because sellers are able to see some behind the scenes of what we're doing on their behalf.
Got it.
So,
So
go ahead.
on the for sale by owner side, on why it's always a challenge to really tell the consumer, hey, look, sell it for sale by owner, right? It's because on the for sale by owner side, I pick up investment properties and I gravitate to for sale by owners first because I look at them and I'm like, well, they don't have an agent, right? And so I have my investor hat on, okay? They don't have an agent. They're not very savvy with the process, right? And even if they think they are, they're not, right? Because we sell hundreds of homes a year. And when I go and approach them, my angle is like, well, you don't have an agent. Nobody's representing you. Nobody's representing me. Why don't we just get to the bottom? What's your bottom line? Let's make this happen. We'll close in 10 days, all cash, right? And when you look at the stats, it shows in the stats too. NAR is showing that homes that sell as a for sale by owner sell for considerably less than the average when using a real estate agent. Why? Because investors are just like me. They come in and they see no agent, no representation. And they're like, well, damn, how low can we get this? Right? And that matters a lot. So if I'm representing the agent, the client, I always say, well, that's reality because I live that. So it's different. That's my approach on it. What do you two think?
I agree with that. It was so funny. I did a TikTok and I was posting about, what it's like to get an offer accepted. I think a couple things to your point, someone actually commented because I made a post about what the buyer had to do in order to get the home that they wanted accepted, right? They had to take out inspections. They waived their appraisal contingency. They had to go 20 grand above the asking price in order to win. Yes. And in the comment section, a female commented and said, haha, you guys just need to ask somebody that go to the owner directly because I got a great price and they paid my closing costs. At the for sale by owner, you have to understand just what Tristan has said is it's not just realtors that think that way. Like the buyers think that way. They're going, ha, ha, ha. I screwed the owner. You home buyers out there that are paying over the asking price are crazy because I just got paid, I got paid to buy a house.
And save it and add that to your listing presentation because that's real.
Yeah. I got to mark out her username, but I just thought, especially now as a for sale by owner, there's no question. Yes, you can. There's a ton of online tools. You can put it up and you can get an offer. That's not a question. No one is ever going to dispute that for you in a market like this, but it is all the other things you're leaving on the table. It is the multiple offers, how to discuss multiple offers, how, what is, your greater potential market value of bidding the home up. How are you looking at the offers, evaluating offers? If you only have one or two offers, don't you think your position is a lot better as a seller to negotiate with 10 to 15 to 20 offers? There's cash. People are waiving inspections. So if someone comes to you by owner, they're expecting inspections, which means they're expecting you to make repairs. That's more money coming out of your pocket. Not to mention, you don't know what kind of Bobo lender they have. We do. We know the lenders that close. We have relationships. Like those things from experience, I think is even a higher value in an extreme market.
I think on that, what would you say, Cece, on the liability standpoint as well?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you know, if you don't have a license, you're not, as an owner, you're not subject to a lot of the, you know, like NAR and things like that, the realtors are subject to. But I mean, you're getting all kinds of people in your home, not to mention your phone is going to be blowing up. Like listing agents aren't. You think you're going to have any sleep at all? Not only will you have your typical investors, realtors, buyers, you're also going to have scammers. There's tons and tons of scammers out there with the wire fraud that's going on. I just, you know, that post that we saw, someone's making cash offers. They're like, hey, posing as you being the owner, selling homes out from under people. Like these things are going on. So the professional gives you so much more protection.
Well, and I'll piggyback onto that. I mean, one, in most states, in Nevada, we call it an SRPD, a seller's real property disclosure. If that's not filled out, you know, it's a state form. If that's not filled out, and I have people that have disclosed something, that there was previously a water leak, or there was this, you know, this had happened, right? Now that's not filled out and it wasn't disclosed, so the buyer didn't know going in. There's a potential major liability after the fact. You know, this new buyer closes on this for sale by owner. They never disclosed something that had happened and gave the buyer the right to back out based on it. They can now sue for all of those damages, right? I had that actually, you know, potentially happen, but I was a listing agent on it. Luckily, we had the SRPD and we were able to show, but there was a sewer pipe that had ruptured between the house and the street. So the city wouldn't take care of it because it wasn't in the street. Insurance wouldn't take care of it because it wasn't in the house. So it was $25,000. And they wanted to come back after my seller. And we gave them disclosure. We showed them the inspection was already done by their inspector, showing that the toilet's flush, nothing backed up. So, you know, clear and free, right? Somebody didn't fill out a seller's real property disclosure and they couldn't prove that they didn't know this. That lawsuit is probably moving on. The other thing is security, not just from a liability standpoint, but security. I don't know if everybody on this call does this, but I insist on putting a lockbox on every single house, even if we have to hide it, and even if it does not have a key on it, in it. So some of my sellers are like, nope, I will let people in. I do not want a lockbox on the house. And I say, okay, we're going to put one somewhere. We're going to hide it so it's not exposed. But here's the reason why. Your home is going to be syndicated. It's going to go out to all the major websites. People are going to know that you're selling it, right? The app that comes on, we use Sentry, but I know some people have Supra, but the only way you could have Sentry or Supra is if you're a realtor in good standing, right? As soon as you get that revoked, that app is off for you. You cannot get into a home through that app. But anybody on their home printer or at Kinko's could print up a business card saying they're a realtor. So now they go and knock on the door and say, yeah, I'm a real estate agent. I'm coming by to, you know, take a look at your home. And they let them in. Now they're, you know, potential for robberies, you know, battery and, you know, assault, all that stuff. So I put a lockbox on every single home. If they don't want a key in it, what I do is I ask them what their most unique word is, right? They'll tell me it's, I don't know, eucalyptus. So I write eucalyptus on the card. The agent has to go and open the lockbox. If they knock on the door, my clients are instructed, you have to enter through the lockbox, go to the lockbox. And now when they come back to the door, they say, what was the word? And the person says eucalyptus. And now they know that they're an actual real estate agent in good standing that was able to access the lockbox. And that's a security scenario from my perspective. So on a FSBO, you're not going to get that. You don't know who's coming in. You don't know if it's somebody coming in to case the place. So there's a lot of risk there. And Cece, like you said, when it comes to lenders, are you getting a pre-qual letter? Or are you getting a pre-approval letter? Is this thing pretty much fully underwritten and just needs an appraisal and it's good to go? Or is this deal going to fall out because, well, they find out that they have a tax lien because they haven't run any of their information yet?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. And in Florida, just one more thing, and I'd love to hear what's going on with Tristan. Florida insurance rates, if you guys have seen, they've skyrocketed. We've had so many back-to-back hurricanes and storms that have hit Florida that the insurance not only have the rates increased, but their standards, their qualifications, their insurance companies that are folding. And so you have less companies with stricter standards. So another way that we were able to help a seller was almost all insurance companies right now are being very, very strict on roofs. Doesn't matter if it's a 30-year roof, a lot of them are requiring a new roof after 17 years, no matter what is left on the roof, which is crazy. So there's about 2 carriers that will insure a 20-year roof. Well, we're selling a home with a 20-year roof. Now, if you're a buy owner and let's say, you know, buyer Joe comes up and says, hey, I can't get insurance. This is a 20-year-old roof. I can't get insurance. You have to replace that roof. Guess what? Your roof is $22,000. Now, as a homeowner, you're putting on a new roof for a home you're not going to live in. Whereas where you have a professional that could have disclosed that up front, knowing the market is what it is, you could have built that into the price. You could have told that buyer, sorry, nope, there's 3 to 5 years of life left. I do have carriers. In fact, we provided the carriers that will insure it. And you can go get your own financing for a roof, right? There's certain things you can do in extreme markets, but that experience and knowledge, what you don't know can certainly cost you.
That's very true, guys. I love that whole angle on it. That I hadn't thought of that, Alex, completely. I didn't think that whole thing through until you said that. But yeah, and Cece, you're right about having the knowledge to be able to identify these things before we even get in to selling the home, right? Because imagine if you're in it and you discover this through the buyer that comes in and then there's a problem, right?
Then you're afraid to lose them. Now you're emotional and you're like, oh my God, I can't lose this deal. I got to pay for it.
That's true. And then that's when we start cutting the price even more as the buyer. Right.
Yep.
So great point on that. And then I want to go in a little further. So I'm in a luxury area as well in Los Angeles. So Malibu, California. And I don't know why it happens, but there are people out there that come in and pretend to have billions and millions of dollars. And they send fake bank statements. They lie about who they are. This is like real. Okay. And the last one we had was, it happens about 1 time a month, by the way. And we don't always identify it quickly, even us, right? We have to ask a lot of questions, do repeated calls. There was one that came through who said he had just sold his home in Newport. He did his research really well, by the way. He was saying he was somebody he wasn't. And he was a hedge fund manager that had sold his home in Newport Beach. The home was there, the name matched. Right. And then when we're asking him for proof of funds, or asking for him to connect us to his financial advisor or his bank. And he sends us proof of funds. Right. And it's a funky letter. And I'm like, this doesn't look like it. So we pick up the phone and call. Doesn't work. So we reach out to our broker, and our broker, one of our brokers, because this agent is with Douglas Elliman in Malibu. Reach out to that broker. I'm like, dude, have you guys come across this before? He's like, hold on, that name sounds familiar. He reaches out. He's like, dude, that is completely fake. They already put in an offer in Santa Barbara for a $50 million home over here in Beverly Hills for $20 million, and it's fake 100%. So, through our network, we identified this person without actually having to put in an offer and going through that whole process and burning bridges and hurting feelings and emotions. So yeah, I don't know why people do that. It's nuts.
Too much time on their hands.
And to be a millionaire.
It's just nuts.
Fun for a day.
Yeah, I'd actually love to
That's
ask,
true.
this is slightly off topic, but I think that now more than ever, especially in a fierce market, there are definitely opportunities for scammers to come about in more creative ways than ever. So what's kind of your feedback on if a client is unwilling to submit a proof of funds letter or pre-qualification letter, especially in the higher price points? Because I've heard some people say, well, some people who have money feel offended by that question. And as an agent, we're doing our due diligence to whether you're representing them and it's a new prospect, or on the selling side, obviously wanting to protect the seller, what's kind of the dialogue or feedback that you hear around that discussion?
I'll say,
Typically, well, go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, so I just put a $2 million home into contract, which is, fairly upscale here. I mean, we have a lot of nicer homes as well. We don't quite get into Tristan's range of, 40 or $50 million homes, but there's a few like 12 and $15 million ones. But that particular client actually sent me his pre-approval and screenshots of his bank account for the deposit without me even asking. Most know, and he happens to be selling about a $2 million house where it's coming from. So he knows that he wouldn't want people in. So a lot of them, even though they could be private, they're usually, understanding that, hey, if I'm going to be entering these houses, they want to make sure I'm legit off the bat. So everyone that I've had that wouldn't provide it turned out to be exactly that, a faker. They were just not real. They were looking to, I don't know what their agenda or objective was, if they just wanted to see the houses or if they had other ulterior motives. Everybody that I've dealt with, I've got a doctor couple, and I needed to get them in really quick. And then right when I met them at the house, I was able to vouch for them because I was able to find out all their background. I have doctor friends that knew them. And so I got the listing agent to approve us without getting their pre-approval. But right when I got there, I said, in the future, we're probably gonna need something. He goes, oh yeah, I'll just send you my bank statement. He was a $3 million cash buyer. So like, they usually don't hesitate at all on that.
That's true. I'll go through. I'll go next. There have been some cases where we do ask for, well, we were asking originally for proof of funds, and what we realized is that in a certain price point, the proof of funds, they kind of stop mattering. It really depends who we talk to in their organization. And part of that has to go through their financial advisor or whoever's controlling the money. So we were helping out this banker. He is part owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he's like, I'm not going to give my proof of, I'm not going to give my, I don't want that floating around there. Right. And so we finally got him to at least put us in connection with his attorney and with his financial advisor. They wrote up a letter saying, hey, he can afford this home, and call us with any questions. And we would have to call and verify just to make sure. But I think just verifying in general that the funds are there and that the person is serious, I mean, that's a huge step forward in the right direction. Can you imagine in this market, both of you, if somebody doesn't have proof of funds and they're submitting an offer that and they want to get accepted? It's not, I mean, I wouldn't even consider that offer.
Doesn't get signed.
It's our responsibility to our clients to make sure that we're going to be working with a solid buyer, right?
We can't trust what you say. I mean, and so understand it, in Jacksonville, our average price point is, it's around 300, 350. So, I mean, proof of funds, someone says that I'm going to be putting $50,000 down. We're like, okay, are you selling a house to get that? Like, most people just don't have that here. It's not like millions and millions of dollars. So yeah, I mean, it comes with the offer. We actually have very specific offer instructions that we give to the agents. Like, if you want your offers to be presented, we require a package, and we require that you write a legible contract, that it has all the addendums, that your buyer has already looked at the seller's disclosure and signed it. They've already looked at the association documents. They've acknowledged it. They've included a pre-approval or proof of funds. Otherwise, your offer is not getting signed. You are actually viewed as a less qualified buyer if you don't have your stuff together, right? Someone who's ready, motivated, willing to buy, they're going to get their stuff, especially in a market like this. Motivation, as long as as well as the price, is going to win.
What's funny is we're talking about pre-approval letters here and proof of funds. From a FSBO standpoint, if you haven't done this before, what are the chances that somebody writes up an offer for you and doesn't even have that and says, yeah, I'm going to the loan officer today, or I have an appointment with Bank of America tomorrow? So they also know what banks actually get things done and what banks actually delay things. You know, I don't want to speak ill of any particular banks or mortgage companies, but we all know which ones actually get things done and which ones have red tape and bureaucracy. And all of a sudden it's a 4-month escrow because of, you know, dotting I's and crossing T's to a degree that is beyond ridiculous. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, as a FSBO, you know, one of the things I always ask is, you know, what do you do for a living? Should I just go and step in and do that? You know, oh, you know, you're the executive chef at a great restaurant. Cool. I can scramble some eggs. I should just get back there in the kitchen and do that. Could I save the labor wages on, you know, can you sell me the food and the table space for $12 instead of the $25 the plate should cost? You know, like it's just, there's a reason why we do what we do.
Yeah, there's multiple points in that transaction. It starts, like you said, from the very beginning. A skilled professional, right? We're not talking about, yeah, you should hire anyone, that you should just go out and hire a new licensee. All realtors are not created equal. And you'll find that, as you could probably hear by all of our tips and suggestions and things that a high level and experienced agent would do. And especially now where people are going over, if that person, if they're offering you 20 grand above or $30,000 above, but they still have an appraisal contingency, are you skilled to talk to the appraiser and show value to your home? Do you know what they're looking for, how to make your own adjustments to square footage and the upgrades that you've done and compare it to other homes? Or are you going to, you know, take your Zillow's estimate? That is not what an appraiser does. They do not validate that. And a real professional won't either. So every single thing that a skilled professional would do for sale by owner is more than going to pay for their fee by your listing price, how they negotiate multiple offers, how they speak to the appraiser, how they negotiate repairs on your behalf, insurance claims, all these other things, because we've been there, done that, and we're able to keep the deal together and a lot more smooth with, you know, just less hiccups, keep more money in your pocket. But you do have to interview. I mean, there's no question. You have to interview. We all know in many states, Florida is one of those. I mean, about $1,000. You can get a real estate license and pass the test. It's not difficult. So do your due diligence should you decide to hire one.
Another point on the FSBO side of things is, were they willing to cooperate with a buyer's agent? If they're willing to cooperate with a buyer's agent, well, one, if they're not willing to cooperate with a buyer's agent, they're going to dramatically reduce the pool of potential buyers, which is absolutely going to affect how much they actually get in the end. Because if you've got 30 or 40 buyers pitting against each other, a buyer versus buyer scenario equals a happy seller. A buyer versus seller scenario is adversarial and annoying, right? You know, it's a negotiation instead of, no, I need to outbid this other person. So if they are willing to work with a buyer's agent, then in that case, we're not even talking about, you know, if they say, I don't want to pay the commission, without getting into numbers or percentages, they're paying a portion of that commission. So there's only a portion that they're saving. So they can't look at it as the whole, you know, scope. If they say, oh, well, I don't want to pay X amount. Well, if you're willing to work with a buyer's agent, that's going to be your best bet. You're going to pay Y amount. So it's just the other half of Y that equals X, or, well, I guess it would be the other way around. 2X is equal to Y, maybe. You know, that you're looking at saving. What is your time worth? Can I show you the value that I'm going to bring to put more money in your pocket, net you more, protect you, both from physical harm and potential material harm, as well as from future liability. And you know, people think, I think there's a big misconception that the market's so hot right now that, yes, what do I need an agent for? Everything's selling. But in a market like this, it's arguably more important to have somebody to navigate, again, the 10, 14, 15 offers, you know, that you may have, to actually create the scenario where you're getting 10 or 15 offers, to vet those lenders properly, to vet the clients properly, to keep you protected. It's mayhem out there right now.
Yeah, that's very true. I pulled up some stats too, just to show the numbers. I have this. FSBOs typically sell for less. This is NAR, National Association of Realtors. They do a lot of research. FSBOs typically sell for less than the selling price of other homes. For sale by owner homes sold at a median of 217,900, right? That's to 2020. The median, when just homes sell in general, is 242,000. When an agent is used, 295,000. That's a massive difference.
Mhm.
And that's from research too. So 8% of all homeowners sold as a for sale by owner in 2020. So some good numbers.
Yeah, I love the stats, Tristan. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's very eye-opening for those listening. And another way to look at it too, from a seller's perspective, is yes, you're technically paying the commission, but the buyer's financing it. So in a sense, you can have the buyer finance your representation and protection. So technically, on some level, yes, it's coming off of your net proceeds, but you're getting a higher purchase price to help cover that. Plus, again, representation. As we've outlined already, there's a lot of things to think about. And if you've got kids, a full-time job, and just trying to make your home available, that's something that is outside the scope of your expertise. Or as I talked with the lady the other day, she was pretty adamant that she could buy and sell properties on her own because she'd done it 5 or 6 times. And I was just like, you know what? Like, have you thought about getting a real estate license before? And she said, actually, yeah. And so that created a conversation on her becoming a real estate agent. And I would say for those of you who are heavily interested in going for sale by owner or feel like you could sell real estate, just consider getting your license to protect yourself. Because again, we've talked a lot about liabilities, and I feel like the gateway in general is pretty low, but a broker can help educate you. So it's just something to think about. And being respectful of everybody's time, what would you say are 3 different tips for sellers to look for when they choose to interview an agent? I'll pass that to Cece.
I definitely, experience. I would say first and foremost, ask about their experience. How many homes have they sold in the last 12 months? My suggestion is they really need to be selling, I would say, to a month to know that they are at least seeing what's happening in the market consistently, right? The consistency happens. The number of years they've been in the business is irrelevant. It's how many homes are they selling in this last prior year because of the market changes. My second tip for sellers, this is one of my favorites, is ask them to read you the contract. They need to be able to put that contract upside down in front of you, and they need to read it. If they can read it easily upside down and not have to stop and look and read, then that is someone who values their craft, who is educated and is committed to making sure that they're the most educated to help you win. And they're also going to be the person that is going to know the contract. So we all know, I mean, it is a legal document. Many buyers and sellers lose money more often because their realtor did not read and know the contract. So that would say those are my 2 top questions. And the reading one is my sneaky tip.
I'll throw one out there that I use is, so and I think this is through a lot of states now, but it's not in every state. There's a website called Peer Reputation, P-E-E-R Reputation. And you go on to Peer Reputation and you can set up an account and you can see all the transactions that somebody's done. So I let them know, hey, go to my Peer Reputation and go ahead and click on any of them. You'll see who the other agent is on the other side of the transaction. And you could easily just go to the assessor page and look up who the client is. Pick any of them. I'm not going to tell you, if I go in for a job interview and I put references on, I'm putting the people that I know are going to say something great about me. So I say, call any of the agents that I've worked with. And furthermore, call any of the clients. If you need contact information, I'll get you in touch. I'll make sure that they're willing to release it, but I'll get you in touch. But you pick out which ones you want to call and find out the job that I did for them. So I love that because I think social proof is huge. I think if I go onto Amazon and I don't see something with a lot of 5-star reviews, I'm not buying it, right? It's got to be a 4.5 or better. And so I want people to be able to have an open book of references on me. So that's one of the big things that I do. And I echo both of CC's as well.
Yeah, you took all the good answers, guys. So I would say I'd probably ask what the consumer's thinking, which is, how are you going to get me the most money for my home? What's that look like? And I would expect a solid answer like, hey, yeah, this is the process, this is our marketing, this is our experience, and this is our track record, right? And that's really what I would ask if I'm selling, right?
Yeah, I think speaking into the marketing side of things as a for sale by owner, and CC, I think you alluded to this a little bit ago. I think there's definitely the temptation for people to believe that marketing all just comes down to Facebook and sticking a sign in the yard and throwing it up on Zillow or some of these other third-party websites that are super popular. Can you guys explain what a good marketing plan looks like and how it's so much more than just those things?
I think with any tool, it's not the tool itself, it's how the tool is used. So the MLS itself does not sell a home. The MLS syndicates, but how many times do you go on and you see, non-professional photos, or you see the first 20 photos are of the outside? Buyers make decisions within the first 5 to 7 photos. So only an experienced realtor would know that. Those are the decision-making photos. They're click, click, click. If they like what they see, they're not going to continue to scroll. Yes, these are syndicating to Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trulia, but it's how it's shown. There are multiple, and in a healthy market, there's multiple pages of listings. So what are you doing to get your listing to show up on the first page, just like Google? What are your search engines? So I think showcasing, hey, someone that says, oh, you're going to be on Zillow and Trulia. Okay, so is everyone else, but how are you getting my listing to show up on the first page all the time? How do you repurpose your content and make changes to the listing so that the algorithms say, hey, there's something new going on here? Do you switch photos around? Are you changing up the description? Okay, you're putting it on Facebook. That doesn't really mean anything, because if you have 800 followers on your business page, that's not attracting. How are you going to attract buyers to that Facebook page? How do you prove that? Do you have examples of how many people are liking, following, that are entering your lead capture? Do you have a database that you're sending your content out to? And ask them to show it to you. How many people do you email out specifically, my home? Where's it going? So it's not just the tool, it's how it's used. Just ask a lot of questions.
Sure. Yeah. And also with the listing photos, one of the things that I've noticed is people that put the photos grossly out of order. They just drag them in the way the photographer did them, and you're jumping around the house and it gives no flow. It doesn't tell a story. And the best sales are made by storytelling. There's that book, Tristan, you'll know it, right? It's a story brand.
Oh yeah, that's a really good book.
Yeah. So there's everything. I mean, you go to old school Zig Ziglar, and he says the best way to sell anything is to tell a story. Sorry, I was doing my impression of Zig Ziglar, but really, it is. It's you got to tell a story, and you could tell a story in the description. You could tell a story by pictures. When you are placing it on Facebook, as CC said, it's a tool. How are you targeting? And they've made targeting a lot harder on Facebook, but there's still great ways to target. You can triangulate. There's a number of different things that could be done. Are you doing a single property website for it? And are you funneling them? Is there a click funnel? Again, bringing it to your database, right? So when I'm emailing it to my database, I want to make sure they're coming back to a site so I know who's come back, because that becomes a hand raiser. I happen to use a tool, I think a lot of you do, called Ylopo. And with Ylopo, I could do a reverse search, and I could look at all the people that have been looking within a certain period of time for a home that meets those specifications. So there's a lot that could be done with regards to all of those elements. And then there's also another thing, and this is, it's funny, I saw somebody say, don't do this yesterday. But there's also the idea of folks that that maybe put it on the MLS on a go live on Thursday, but they do a grand opening. So it's not this whole funnel them to one open house and it's only open for 2 hours and that's it and that's the window. It's not about that. There is 2 hours or maybe 3 hours that there's an open house run on Saturday and you can't see it before then. But after that, it's open. You can make appointments or possibly enter if it's vacant. But you do a grand opening blitz, and then you're funneling everything because that creates a scenario of some FOMO, right? If I'm there and there's 9 or 10 or 15 other people there at the same time as me, and I'm thinking that this one might meet my quality, shoot, I better get my offer in. And how does that drive multiple offers? Better than pretty much anything I've seen. So those are a couple of the major marketing elements that I'd say.
I mean, there's so many parts to it, right? There's the marketing part, but then once we get it into under contract or in escrow, you also have to have an agent or a team of agents that can also process it correctly so they don't miss any of those marks, right? So I think when it comes down to it on the marketing side, if you could have them outline everything and explain to you why those things are important, it's kind of reiterating what both CC and Alex said, because the thing you'll hear is that, like CC was saying, yeah, I'm going to throw it on Facebook, right? But what does that mean, right? Because everybody says that. I want to know what that means. So if you could add a meaning and an explanation to everything that you're telling me as to why it's important to me, then I'll listen and I'll be like, that makes sense. Or no, that doesn't make sense. That's all I would add. That's why I go last, because they give the great answers and I'm just like, they're right.
It's so good. Such a good conversation. And I hope that everyone watching this is learning a ton. I think it's always fascinating when you have a bunch of top producers together. They all tend to say the same thing, even though they're all in different markets, because it's real estate and there's still some tried and true principles that no matter what market you're in, it's still going to be the same thing at the core. I think one thing that we haven't mentioned, and I love it because it's kind of saving like the best for last, is virtual tours. You as a seller are probably not going to have the technology or the ease of means to have a virtual tour done. And we are in a pandemic. I know some states are starting to open, but there are still a fair number of people who do not feel comfortable walking through properties. So how are you going to attract more buyers by using virtual technology and having floor plans? Have you guys all implemented virtual tours during COVID, or was that something you were doing before?
Well, since all these people are leaving LA and coming to Vegas, right? They're all leaving, right, Tristan? Yeah, it's actually been something I've been doing for well before COVID, because we have a lot of California, a lot of New York buyers. Vegas is still a destination city for move-ins. So there's a lot of people that are coming, and yeah, we've always offered anything from FaceTime. And by the way, I'll do a FaceTime tour. Every time I do a FaceTime tour, I schedule for a lot longer than the FaceTime tour, and I go back and I video the whole property and narrate and hit any of the points we talked about on FaceTime. The reason being is a lot of times they want to go back, and on FaceTime, they're not screen recording it. And maybe they want to share it with a friend or mom or a dad or kids or something like that. So I always go back through and video it one more time. It takes an extra 10 minutes. But I do that. We have used Matterport. Some people like it. Some people feel like they get dizzy. So it just depends on the tool. But ultimately, yeah, I do a lot where it's virtual.
And we were pretty much doing a lot of virtual FaceTime. We're a military town, so we've had that fortunate ability to help sight unseen buyers, military buyers. They're overseas in Sicily, and they really don't have a choice. I can't imagine being in that position, and many people are forced to do it all the time. So for them, it wasn't a big deal. For us, we're used to it. We know how to be different when it comes to those sight unseen buyers, to be able to truly, like you said, walk them through the neighborhood. We'll drive the neighborhood. We'll take them to the community center. We go through the home. We show them, what's to the left and to the right of the house and across the street. So they get a community feel. We go through the home and we're looking not just, oh, look at the pretty countertops, as what a lot of buyers do is they look at all the pretty cosmetics. It's a little more thorough. We're looking at baseboards. We're, looking at any potential damage. We are looking under sinks. We are looking at cracks in the tile, just things so that they know that we're also their advocate. It's been pretty easy. We've used Matterport. We did virtual open houses, but honestly, I can tell you they still wanted to come in. And Florida, fortunately, we weren't as strict here. So it really was maybe a 30-day window where it was very, very strict. And then maybe just like another 30 days where it was a softer mass CDC type of thing when you come in the home. So we just limit the people. But other than that, I would say we were doing it before, and it's just been another notch in our bag.
Yeah, same with us. We're doing the Matterport 3D tour along with video in some cases and a little bit more video in close areas that are close to the home, like parks or the beaches or hiking trails, so that people can get a better idea of what is around the area. Kind of like just to drive them in to look at the home in person. Because yeah, we did sell a few sight unseen homes, right? I would have to go in with my iPhone and be like, okay, it was actually somebody who was coming in from Northern California, and they needed it to be wheelchair accessible. And there was like one little step like this. So I'm like, okay, hold on. So I got down with my iPhone. I'm like, see, it's not that big. Let me know. Is that okay? And they're like, yeah, that's okay. So they bought it. And that was sight unseen. So yeah, I think a lot of people are getting more comfortable with buying a home without actually seeing it. I'm all for it. I'll do it. But I think all three of us would probably do it. It'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But we see homes every day. So
we know what we're looking for,
it's
even
different.
in photos.
Yeah. So that's my take.
Yes, I was watching a show last night. My parents gave us part of their membership to Discovery Plus, and we don't have cable. And so like I have been probably fortunate to not have real estate shows on my TV, but I was watching some island show yesterday, and this one couple walked through a house, and I was like, please don't buy this house. Like just looking at the floor plan and some of the choices, I'm like, this is so bad. But anyway, well, thank you everybody for your time and energy, your feedback. This has been incredible. For those who are watching who might be looking to buy or sell in your areas, what is the best way to connect with you? And also, let's remind everybody again which markets you're in. CC.
CC Underwood. I'm in Jacksonville. So we serve Jacksonville, Florida, St. Augustine, and Fernandina Beach. So we have a wide radius with our team. Facebook is a great connector, or you can just email me directly, cc@sellingwithcc.com.
Alex Rivlin in the Henderson and Las Vegas markets. I usually respond fastest to the bat signal. So you just throw that up in the air and I'm there. But aside from that, just, direct on the cell phone at 702-219-2000 or alex@therivlingroup.com, spelled just like it is in my last name there on the screen.
And for me, I'm in the second best city in the world, Los Angeles. First is CC's, and third, you're Alex, you're third.
All right. Okay.
So if you have anybody to send our way, people are still moving into LA, right? LA,
They're not.
who knew? You can always send them to me. Find me on social media, Tristan Ahumada, or you can just look up Tristan Real Estate and I'll pop up. But thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You bet. Yes. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time.